Hey everybody. Thanks for joining. Thanks for your attention today. My name is Neil Griffith. I'm an observability advisor here at Splunk. I've been here for about 5 years, working on observability topics across lots of different customers. And I'm joined today by my colleague, Matt Olson. Matt, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, yeah, I'm Matt Olson. I'm a strategist and industry advisor for comms and media here at Splunk. Like Neil, I've been in this role for about 5 years, but about 2, 3 decades working in the industry and really focused on the particular lens of service providers. So thank you.
Great. Thanks, Matt. So we'll go through some topics today. Mostly we're covering the State of Observability report, which is a report that Splunk publishes every year by polling our customers and talking with leaders in the industry to understand kind of where the industry is, kind of how they're adopting and what challenges they're facing. So we'll talk through some of those challenges and some of the recommendations. Um, if you have questions throughout the presentation, throughout this, feel free to put those in the chat and we'll do our best to answer them. And if not, follow up at the end with everyone who's got questions. So thanks, and I'll get started here. So as mentioned, we surveyed Splunk customers who've been working with us and about their various kind of challenges and where they are with observability. Um, and the good news from this is that we've seen about half, a little over half, in fact, are predicting increase in spend, but also in focus on observability. And I say this is good news because this is good for everybody in the sense that this means that all the companies that whose digital experiences we as consumers are interacting with, over half of those are investing in better and improving that digital experience. So certainly a win for everybody. And from sorry, and the leaders on this side, the customers who have reported to be leaders in observability, experience quite a big ROI. They've cited 2.5x an ROI on their initial spend. So it's certainly on the right track towards further observability and understanding.
Yeah, and Neil, I think it's particularly interesting that communications service providers are really, I think, at the forefront, is in terms of the level of adoption and the focus on investment in observability. Comms and media providers are like ahead of the pack. And to your point, it's not just an investment for the sake of investment. It's because they're seeing a significant return on investment already. At this 2.5x annual ROI, I think was really eye-opening from my perspective, because it indicates that there is already a recognition of the tremendous return on investment in terms of improved customer experience and retention and success of products, but also in innovation and efficiency. So, both bottom line and top line impact. And, I think that's incredibly encouraging and also really points to, service providers sort of being on this leading edge. But of course, those are the advantages. That's the reason to do this now. I think today really want to focus on what we've learned as well, though, regarding the challenges. And I think we've identified like three key areas where we have significant challenges and sort of a need for focus in driving more adoption of observability. And we wanted to touch on those today. The first is just being overwhelmed by the amount of data and the alert fatigue and, too many signals, too many alerts. And then the second is, pulling all of that data in and the challenges establishing standards-based, scalable, integrated mechanisms for the acquisition of all of that data and the ingest. And then finally, of course, Technology is fantastic, but then there's the cultural and organizational challenges, which I think actually ultimately are probably the biggest area of challenge and frankly, very often kind of overlooked.
Yeah. Observability is a practice. It's not an overnight thing. It's not a product, and we'll get into that. But these are the bumps along the road into getting from low visibility into your organization all the way through to observability across all the different environments, the different code bases, and all the different infrastructure. So we in the report, and you can download. There's a link to download at the end, but in the details of the report, customers reported an average of 23 observability tools. And that's an average across the industry. So we knew it was high and we knew there was a lot of different tools in the space, but 23 is a lot. And if you think about even this first one, balancing the alert noise, 23 different tools are all doing some sort of alerting. So it is not surprising that about half of our customers still say that they struggle with alert fatigue. Their alerts coming from all over the place. They may be correlated, they may not, but really realistically, one incident is going to be creating alerts from all sorts of different sources. So really important issue and still something we need to work on.
Yeah, and I think as well the this fragmentation of the data and the challenges in correlating data is a huge issue. And I know for service providers especially over time growing and accumulating different silos, different systems. I think the correlation and integration across all of those fragmented sources is key. And Neil, as you mentioned, you have not only all of those systems, but also different, functional areas and different data types that you need to integrate to
Yeah,
be effective.
different business units even.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I think, the first thing is with these volumes of data, there's really no way to process all of this into actionable, insights without the use of machine learning, AI. And I know we were talking about this a little bit earlier, so thinking about this, the session, but AI I mean, we obviously can't get through any presentation without talking about AI, but really AI is a combination of, machine learning, AI ops, and sort of traditional AI techniques, which I think are critically important in distilling those alerts. And then, of course, now Gen AI. And
Yeah.
I think, it's clearly critical for the use of, all of this vast volume and variety of data, but it's not all just Gen AI.
No, it's not. We've been talking about AI and ML for a while in this space about how to correlate alerts and how to understand what's going on. This was years ago, so it's not just the modern AI buzzword of ChatGPT and such. Though there is an application for that too, with the more modern versions of Gen AI, like chatbots, to be able to say where is the root cause of this particular error. And there's certainly help there, but it's not new to the space at all. And on the recommendations here, balancing these alerts, being able to see your network even where you don't own it. What we're talking about there is that the kind of observability nirvana is this ability to see at any level of granularity, from the farthest zoomed out, like red, green, is my digital experience being delivered well or not, and then being able to zoom in when something is wrong, being able to zoom all the way down to one node or one piece of the network or one even piece of infrastructure, and understand where is this degrading, where's my experience that I'm delivering degrading, and why is that degrading. And so with this amount of alerts, it's quite difficult to do, but it's something that we've been working on quite a bit in the industry. So the second challenge that we really see, second large challenge from our customers and from this report that's brought to the surface, is the ability to embrace, or let's say standardize the telemetry, standardize the data collection. It is OpenTelemetry is an open source project. It's the second most active project after Kubernetes in the CNCF, so it's got a lot of legs. And It really is it's the foundational step toward making observability kind of unanimous across the whole organization, whether that's inner business unit between infrastructure and application code and network. All of this data OpenTelemetry is more and more collecting all this. And in order to get kind of further along in this process, we find and customers find that it is imperative to use these open source standards to collect their data.
Yep. I'd add that I think from the service provider perspective as well, I mean, there are two things that have really driven the adoption of OpenTelemetry, where again, service providers are really on the sort of the leading edge with OTel adoption, well ahead of the pack in terms of strategic focus on OTel and progress on OTel adoption. And I think the reasons are really at least twofold. I mean, the first is the adoption of cloud native architectures and cloud native stacks, which are critically important for new innovation within telco. And OTel is really perfectly suited to cloud native environments. And then the second is just the scaling. I mean, the immense scale of the infrastructure. Neil, to your point, I think you need open standards and mechanisms like OTel to have any hope of really building, scalable, extensible platforms able to function efficiently at the sort of
Yeah,
scale we're seeing.
absolutely. Otherwise, you're going to be building ingest methods for every different language and every different type of infrastructure. And that, as we've seen again in the industry, is just not sustainable. It's not possible to build all of this. And that's why the open source really makes so much sense. Um, with the kind of the adoption of cloud native, observability data has really exploded. The availability of observability data has exploded, which is great because it allows us to have a very granular view of what's going on in our applications and in our environments. But the explosion has really comes at a cost. It's great that we can do it, but we have in the last couple of years, customers have really realized that we cannot capture absolutely everything at this scale. And so open telemetry and this open source standard also helps control the cost and helps control like we need the most important signals at a first class kind of tier, but maybe the second class signals can be triaged and put all other places. And open telemetry has helped a lot with cost. It wasn't necessarily specifically a cost project, but as this data has exploded, it becomes even more important in controlling costs. So
Yeah,
also
and
very
I think
important.
yeah, and I think Neil, by the way, I mean you hit on two things that are really key. The first is just the inherent cost and efficiency of having an open standards-based approach. So you're using the same sort of tooling, the same approaches, across your infrastructure. Um, and then, the second is employing an approach which has sort of fine-grained controls. So you can then use within that OTel context, you can, tune your data collection and processing for, highest return for cost, which I
Yeah.
think is really key.
Yeah. Customers are adopting this quickly and it makes a lot of sense. So we expect to see a lot more out of open telemetry and a lot more growth in open telemetry in the coming years. It's still, while it is already quite popular and quite robust, it's only growing at this point. Um, Similarly to the practice that on the slide here, the platform engineering concept that we are bringing here, that customers are bringing in to embed in their dev teams and embed in their kind of technical teams overall to help this observability become standard, to help the software deployment cycles. This practice is something we've seen to really gain a lot of insights from observability because, like we said at the top of this call here, the observability is not a product, it's a practice, and it's not an overnight thing. It starts maybe with basic telemetry and consolidating some of the vision and the views, and it grows from there.
And I think that the key really in my mind is, as you said, it's a practice. And the the natural tendency, I think, is to look to technology to solve all the problems, but without accompanying shifts in the practice, the approach, the technology really has limited impact. And it seems, it's both a cultural challenge and an organizational challenge. And I think driving this practice of platform engineering is it's really a pivot in mindset. And along with DevOps practices generally, I think is sort of turns approaches on their head and incorporates the observability into all of the platform design, the service rollout process.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
think,
uh, it's encouraging to see the speed though with which this practice is being adopted. And frankly, I was surprised to see how many of our customers are really already recognizing the importance of this practice and sort of driving forward.
yeah. Well, I think the leaders, the companies who are leading in this space and have like much more advanced platform engineering and site reliability practices, they really do see a higher efficiency pipeline of ideas to pushing production digital experiences that are better, faster, stronger, and smoother. And so once they get a taste and
Yeah.
they continue with that, and there's certainly it's no secret that when this stuff starts to work, and they start to really improve more quickly,
Yep.
it's self-fulfilling.
Yeah, it's that ROI feedback loop. And it's impressive though to see it on the kind of cultural and organizational side as well as the technical adoption side.
Yeah. And so the recommendations kind of that we've distilled from customers, because we get this question a lot, is this is great that we can see these products are out there, the technology's out there to pull in all this different information from the network, the code, the infrastructure into one place, correlate it, look at it from all these different lenses. That's fantastic. How do we actually get it in practice? And so this is one of the most important things is to start talking about as part of the DevOps kind of practice, start talking about the platform engineering and understand like how that's going to work in your organization, and how SREs are going to work alongside devs. Because as it says on the slide, platform engineering, but observability overall really is everybody's responsibility, and not so much that makes it sound like a task and a burden, but it's to everyone's benefit. Like the developers are the ones who are consuming this information and using that to say, I'm now going to go make these changes. But a platform engineering team, kind of provides this to be self-service, so that that dev team can work so much more efficiently and ultimately improve digital experiences more quickly for customers.
Yep. Yeah, and I think as you indicated, the key is kind of incorporating that observability as sort of part and parcel of all of the service development, service delivery, so that it becomes everybody's concern, but also to everybody's benefit.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting as well, the focus from some of the adopters are furthest along, integrating both security and observability, because
Yeah.
of course
Same data.
DevSecOps and I mean ultimately it's the same set of challenges in leveraging data to detect issues,
Yeah.
anticipate issues and respond and prevent impairment of service.
Yeah. It's even a lot of the same data. Just need to look at it through a different lens or ask that same data a different question, right? Where does it break down versus who's nefarious in this system? Like same data that leads us to those two answers.
Exactly.
So as I mentioned, the State of Observability report is downloadable here from Splunk. If you have any questions, like I said in the chat, is fine. We'll try to get to those as much as we can. And certainly myself and Matt and many others here at Splunk are available for follow-up conversations, to talk about DevOps practices, platform engineering practices, OpenTelemetry, and how this can kind of work at these different customer sites, and tell some of the customer stories directly about customers in the various industries who are making this work and who have made these shifts to be kind of fully visible across their environments. So thanks everyone for your time and attention. Feel free to reach out and we'll talk soon.
Fantastic. Thank you.